How you doing, young Connor? How you doing? Locke is back. Unreal Gecko is here. Now the notification came. We have solved the problem. I gotta write that down in my notes for, you know, if streaming every 4 months, remember to put out a change the privacy to public. There we go. So we're gonna give it a minute. We'll talk amongst ourselves for like 7-10 minutes, something like that. Unreal, where are you in the series? Because you just started recently, right? Yeah, I figured Gex the Gecko. I don't know any other geckos, man. So I figure if there's a gecko, it's probably you. That might be a poor, you know, assumption, but that's where we're at. James Brady, yes. Assuming that I actually had my microphone turned on for all the recordings I did recently, which is the problem we had when I first went live, then yes, then there will be an episode. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff as we get going here. Young Connor, is it Young Connor? You love the Erin Brach series as you're Irish. What part of Ireland are you from, lad? Nick, how you doing? Just got the notification. Okay, apparently that was the problem. We're learning, guys and gals. Hey, Gordon. Yes, you are with the Zach O'Neill and Lucas Clucas days. Those were the days, man. The 442. Woo! That's a good time. That's a good time. Okay. Right. Yeah, I know where Connacht is. Yeah, on the, where is it? Hello, Google Maps. Could you please actually show me on the map? What? Somewhere in the west? Is that, why is it not showing me where you are? I typed it in and everything. Nobody knows. Google Maps is not even happy with me. Oh, we gotta get the music back going here. Okay. Oh, it's a province. Okay, so that's why it's okay, so is a province like an area, like a region? Because it just kind of zoomed to the west part of the map and then just like sat there, and there's no like, you know, like in Google Maps, there's like a pen. There's no pen. And I'm like, where are we here? What you guys talking about? Yes, that is the picture I took, Samuel, yes. Nielsen, I really love FM19. I promote a team and get fired. That's not how you do it, man. Are you getting promoted too fast? Are you going over wage budget? What's going on, man? What's going on? This is all free music by the group Sláinte on the album Sláinte, which is great. I'm actually assuming you can hear the music. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. We had some issues when we got started, so it's like I streamed and then it didn't, and I gotta go find the old video and delete it because it's gonna process the old video where I kind of rambled without my mic on and it wasn't live. So at least I think that's what happens. Do not like the new version of YouTube's analytics. It is, or not the analytics, the whole whatever it's called, Studio, YouTube Studio. There it is. Okay, processing that. Yep, let's just go ahead and, yeah. think that's the one I want to get rid of. Actually, won't delete that because it could be this one. You never know with YouTube these days. You never know. They didn't think you could hack it once you got promoted. That's brutal. Where are the balloons and cake? I don't know, man. I guess again, if I'd actually thought this through, right, and planned in advance, we would have. There'd been a thing I would have told people in advance. But we didn't. We're not doing FM in the stream, Samuel. I did get it sorted out though because of your comment. So I did get it sorted out. It'll probably show you how far in advance ahead I am, but that's why. Mr. AC fan, how many seasons are you gonna play with the Irish? I'm not sure. I'd like to see if we could like do something in the Champions League and not just get like our faces punched in, you know, like every time. That's just me, but Obi Lax Kenobi, hello there. Basketball Manager. Is that a thing? Is there a thing such as Basketball Manager? People who are just joining are like, why is there a picture from what looks like a beautiful sunset and he's just talking? Dynamis, how you doing, man? Sorry if I butchered your name. Man, I really appreciate the kind words. Had he any double figures in his attributes? I don't remember, Samuel, but it was slim pickings. I did what you said, right? Like I did the, you know, once this roll caps more than 0 or like at least 1, like whatever the sorting option was, and it was slim pickings. There were some folks that were available, but they already had management jobs in Ireland, and I didn't want to like. I wasn't sure how the AI handled it in terms of. Can just like I can manage Cavatili and the national team, can the AI do that, or would they just quit? So I was afraid of that, so I just went for the people that were unemployed. But I think you'll like it. At least you've doubled your Champions League points each year. Yes, that is true. All right, we got about 21 people in here, and the music's stopped. So I think that's a good kicking off point. Let me go get my notes. If you were already here, you're gonna hear me repeat the same things. Because you are, and that's how it's gonna work. My friends, I really appreciate you joining us, especially on relatively short notice. Dynamis, that's what we're getting into, my friend. You're probably just now hearing the words out of my voice, and you typed what is the topic of today's stream. It's like we're on the same page. So we are going to shout out some new patrons. We are going to look at analytics for the last couple of months because I've not done I don't think I did a June analytics video, and then obviously July just finished, and so you kind of have to wait a couple days after the end of July to get the full snapshot of the month, you know, so I can give you an accurate update there. I'm actually going to for those of you that might be relatively new to the channel, I try and be as much of a wide open book about running the channel and like running it as a business as I can be, so that maybe if you're like, hey, I think this is something I'm interested in, you can take a look at that. So I'm gonna share some stuff with that. We're gonna talk about what other types of content you would like to see. So don't say it yet in the chat because I'll miss it. Okay, so just be thinking about that. We're gonna talk about D&D because I have gone like into the deep end on Dungeons and Dragons. We are going to look at the last part of the experiment, and I'm going to at that point try and record. Someone needs to in the chat be like, remember, you're going to the experiment, record, so that if I need to, I can put it as a separate video in case people miss it. But I may just say like, it's in the middle of the stream. That might be easier. My recording drive is getting kind of full. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about Fantasy Premier League and what I would like to do with it this season. Kind of what I've been thinking about. Alrighty. So hopefully that makes sense. So before we get started, Dodgy Gamer and Alan Giles, thank you so much for your support. Joining the patronage, it means a lot. Dodgy, welcome back to the UK from your travels afar. I'm looking forward. Dodgy is another content creator, and earlier in Football Manager 19, he did the International Man of Mystery, which was like all international management, but like he started in, what was it, Tonga, or like some Oceania island ranked like 200th in FIFA, which was awesome. So I really enjoyed that series. You should check him out. So that's what we got going on there. Analytics. We'll talk about content because I already talked about content. So let's get into some other stuff here. Hold on, let me get rid of the picture. Okay, that's the experiment. I already got FM loaded. I did think that far ahead to have FM loaded for the experiment. Where is the browser? Yes, still works. Yes. Okay. Let's see here. So, hey, old lady plays. How you doing? Pro Basketball Manager 2019 is on stream, Nielsen. Interesting. So this is the last 2 months. We've kind of reached. So here's as a content creator, it's like this is why I like what we're building from a community standpoint. And that's why I greatly appreciate it. Anybody who watches, of course, I'm appreciative. If you watch ads, I'm appreciative. But anybody who chucks $1 my way on Patreon, or obviously there's some people that do significantly more than that, it means a lot. Because here's the conundrum, right? If I wanted to get to 10,000 subscribers really quickly, the easiest way to do that as a content creator is to do what seems popular. And so I guess I should preface this by saying this is not to knock other types of content. I honestly don't get to watch a lot of content these days because, as I was saying in the first attempt at streaming, my career, my real life career has changed a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But like if I'm on YouTube, I'm either watching some D&D content, or I am like editing or uploading or titling and descriptions and whatever of my own content, and going back and recording more. That's kind of what has happened this, I've kind of had an interesting year. Like I had the whole, like at the, whatever, I don't even, I snapped the tendon of my pinky. That's why my pinky doesn't go straight. I had the vertigo issues, and then I've had some positive and a good, good thing, vertigo stuff, doing its thing. And I have gotten to the point where it's like, I really am enjoying this save. Like, I have never done a Build a Nation. I have never done international management for like significant periods of time. I've never stayed with one club. The previous editions of Football Manager, I've done more of like the Journeyman or the Scandinavian, save and kind of, had the MLS thing for a little bit, whatever. But like, I mean, I'm amazed. We're like, whatever, 160-ish episodes in, and I have several more already recorded, ready to go. And that is awesome. And exciting. I am enjoying it, but it's one of those things, it's natural, and I don't blame anybody, right? Like, I've got 5,000 subscribers now, which is hooray, thank you. But like 300 people watch the videos these days. I mean, and maybe within a week it might get up to like 400, maybe pushing 500, but usually it's 300, like, and that's it. And that's a pretty small subset of the subscriber base, right? And now maybe not everybody watches every video. Maybe there's like 600 people, because like 300 people watch one episode and skip one and watch the other one, and the other people watch the skipped one and then this, but it's about 300 or 400 folks, right? So that's like 6% of my audience. So like, that's unfortunate, but it's kind of like, I like what I'm doing, and people are like, it's not like nobody's watching it. So it's just one of those things. If I wanted to get to 10,000 subscribers, I would stop what I'm doing. I would stop Eren Go Bra. I wouldn't do long-term saves, because what gets people's attention, right? And this is true of any types of content. It's not just Football Manager. Is I could do all kinds of experiments, right? Like experiment, and like just like cover my channel in experiments. And there's, you know, give a low level team £1 billion, or, you know, invest in one club in one small country, see what happens. And like, I'm not knocking that content. Again, I don't watch that content, but it's not because I don't agree with it. Like, you do you, right? Like, people like different types of things, and that's obviously popular, right? It's a smart growth strategy. If you're having people like your content doing that type of thing and it's growing you at a rapid pace, of course you keep doing it, because that's what YouTube rewards. So I haven't been doing that, and I've been doing kind of my own path, but I would rather do that, right? Like, I would rather have a smaller community, not as many views, not as necessarily as many subscribers, but like a more passionate, it feels like an actual like group of people, right? Like, when I see you guys leaving comments and like jumping in the Discord and stuff like that feels like real community. Now, would I like that community like to quadruple in size? Of course, I'm not an idiot, right? Like, that'd be great. But I think that's what you're seeing above my head here with the analytics is indicative of that, right? Like, the beta for Football Manager usually comes out in October, or at least it did last year, I think, right? And then the new version came out in November. So like, we are, you know, like, we're really cranking along, right? But it from a Football Manager standpoint, it's like there's like a spike, and then it starts to, you get down into the long tail, you know, like where views are dropping, people go find other stuff to view, like, again, because the game's been out so long for this year. And that's what you're seeing here, right? It's like, I'm not seeing like huge growth. I'm actually seeing a little bit of a decline, right? Like, go back to July 25th, right? 694 views versus back here 728, 766. It's not dramatic. I guess this spike here, because the US women's national team versus Thailand, that was a tad controversial. So that it kind of skews the let's actually, I wish I could, I'm sure there's a way I could drop that, but like, we could go look at, you know, the 16th, I guess. So it'll fix the y axis for us. Right, so it's just kind of been, you know, it's consistent, but like, there are days when I've had no videos, and that's where you're seeing the big drops, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, you know, that if you don't get views, you don't get ad views, which means you don't make as much money. But again, like, this is not, I probably should have prefaced all this. I probably should have done a lot more planning for this stream than I did. This is not a cry for like, oh, poor me, like, I need more patrons. But my point is, I used to, when I first started doing YouTube, I was freaking out when I got 25 views, and like, why didn't I get 26 or 28? And like that, like, I was the guy constantly checking the stats. And I've kind of gotten to the point, I've been doing it long enough where I kind of go like, yeah, I mean, it's important. But I'd rather build a community, like a really small, passionate community, and like grow that thing over time. So that's the dips are when the garage door isn't present in the videos. Like, well played, sir. Well played. There's 27 of you here right now. Hello. I'm really behind on the comments. Dynamis, I'm gonna pause. I do want to interact with this. As a whole thing about streaming, right? Let's interact. Hi, Kevin Barnes. Dynamis, the American Rescue continuing, by the way, or did you drop it completely? Right now it looks like it's done completely, which I'm sad about. It's just kind of how life has gone. Gordon watches the episodes within an hour or two of them coming out, which is ridiculous. That's amazing. Pekka, a day without Irish save is missing something. Aw. Old lady plays, you watch all the ads unless they're for the naughty political party in my country. Oh, that's hilarious. Mateus, can't you mix both? Yes, I could. I'll talk about that here in a second. Hey, Jonathan. Mix it up every once in a while. Keep things fresh. Yeah. So, hey, Fromy, Marcus. So let's again, like, there were 5 people here originally because I didn't have the stream public, and it didn't send out notifications, and that's why there's now 28 of you here. So we stopped that and restarted, and now you're here. So what I was saying is, in the last couple months, I've had business travel. Not like unexpected, not like, hey, they called me on Monday and Monday night I'm on a plane. But with that, and I talk about this in an upcoming video, so it'll I don't know when, because I've got a bunch of things in the can. I've been left with a conundrum. Is And that conundrum is, don't put out as much content, but that content has interaction with comments. Like when you guys leave comments, right? So like, who was it earlier? Oh man, my mind is gone blank. Samuel, about the under 20. I wasn't able to find somebody to take the under 21 job in the Ireland save, and he left a really good comment about, I had the same problem. Here's how you go find somebody. You want somebody with at least one international cap that, you know, wants to be a manager or an assistant manager or whatever. And I was able to do that and get it fixed. So like I could have waited, you know, and gone on business trips and not been around to record. And then there like 2, 3, 4, 5 days go by without content, because I'm sorry, when I come home, I want to like see my kids and my wife and be a dad and husband and all that kind of stuff, kind of important to me. Or I could diminish that a little bit and still try and reply to comments, but put out consistent content. And so that's what I've elected to do. Not to make it like lesser content, right? I still think the content's good, right? Like at least I hope it is. It's just not as interactive, right? So I had to sacrifice that a little bit just to kind of get through this phase. And all that with the business travel and me getting vertigo, what was it? The power outage that I had, that like wiped out like a good chunk of the save. All that kind of contributed to like, I feel like since May, it's been a little bumpy. And because of that bumpiness, I've been like, okay, I got to have one thing going consistently. And that's going to be this series, which has then led to me not doing as well with the experiments. So I've got some folks that have been like, if you're a patron of mine at $10 a month or higher, I've told you, hey, I'll try and put you in episodes, whether that was experiments or whatever. And they have been super patient with me. Like, I feel bad. My goal is this month because I don't have business travel planned between now and the end of the month, is to get the next experiment out, which is going to be like the 8 Kids in 5 Continents, except it's going to be managers. And we're going to see how that goes. Because I know Loki Doki did a manager experiment in the past, and like Football Manager just like really is bad from an AI standpoint of dealing with those types of careers. But we're going to try it. So I do plan to get that out, but like I wanted to originally get that out in June. And like, I just feel like a bunch of monkey wrenches have been thrown in. So that's kind of where we're at. And that's kind of where we're at. I don't know. That's kind of what we're doing right now. And then I do, you know, depending on how long that takes, right? Because that experiment, I'd like to put out probably 2 or 3 episodes a week, because I feel bad. Like I feel like I've let you guys down. We'll see how long that one lasts. And then does it make sense to do another experiment, or does it make sense to wait until FM20 to do the next experiment? Like I love the random kids in random continents save thing. I hope that could be like one of my things in the Football Manager community. So that's kind of my plan right now. But if you got other ideas for experiments, make sure you hop in the Discord, which I think the link is in the description of this. Of course it's not. That's just excellent. It's in the link. It's in the descriptions of the other videos. Oh, somebody take notes and tell me all the things I should have done correctly on this before I like actually clicked start streaming. So that's where we're at. So let me go back to my list of things. I did write down a list of things here. Okay, so let's go back to life, back to real. Okay, to first. Okay. I'm looking at when I look over here, I'm either looking at my notes or chat. So this is we're taking a chat break. Dynamis, have you decided yet what is going to be the first FM20 series? Yes, I have an idea, and it is currently, if it is the idea that I stick with, it is going to be in Europe, is all I'm going to say at this point. But we'll see. I would like to put together a trailer for it. That's on my list of things to do. I got a long list. Nielsen, why not make your own club? I've never done that. I'm open to doing that. Because I have had folks say like you could do a make your own club and like, you know, kind of do like Leluja did. Like you could like print kits and like have people pay to be in the youth intake and all that kind of stuff from like a Patreon standpoint. I just don't want it to seem like a money grab. Like, is that content as valuable to do something like that than just to take an existing club, right? Obviously, the benefits from a creator standpoint, right, is if you create your own club, whether it was a Lulujo or who else did it, Dr. Benji, right? Like with the I'm blanking, the one he did, where like you don't have to worry about like I'm gonna print some shirts with a logo on it, but it's not my logo. Like you can't do that, right? Versus it's my logo and I created it. Now I'd have to create a logo, and I'm not very good at that. Let's see here. All right, I'm just looking at chat here. So, Gecko, multiple managers experiment. Cool. We'll have to see how it goes. Same thing from Frommy. Jonathan saying the same thing about create a team with all of us and see how far we go. So I guess my question then would be, what if we just did the, you can nickname players, and like whatever the first youth intake or the first team of a club, like a real life club, we make that people, right? Does it matter, or is it better to say like we're doing our own thing? I would probably have to test that as well, because I've never done a create a club situation, so I'm not sure what all is involved, and I wouldn't want to make it broken like, oh, we've got excellent facilities and youth intake and of course we're dominating, right? Let's see here. Cool. All right, so we're caught up on that. So all that to say, from an analytics standpoint, this is we're all over the place. The big spike, right? 26.2 thousand views of mostly angry people, and that's fine, disagreeing with me on the U.S. Women's National Team. And then I put out I always know U.S. soccer videos tend to do well, so theoretically I should put more of them out, but I don't want to just be another angry voice. Like, I tried to present a position that I actually felt, but like I wanted to articulate it rather than, just being angry in either of these videos, right? It's just like what I did, what was it, last year with the how to fix US soccer. I don't want to be like, US soccer sucks, y'all suck, everything sucks, blah. And it's like, well, that's not valuable, right? Like I want to like get people thinking and like engage your brain with something like that. So, but I figured this was going to be a talking point, and there wasn't a lot of content out there from the U.S. Women's National Team side. So it was more opportunistic to take that opportunity there. And then I was upset about the U.S. Men's National Team Jamaica loss. But I tried to articulate an actual position than to not. Mateus, I had to approve that comment or that chat. That was hilarious. Blah, 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 blah. Good deal. Create your own club in Russia and call it, that. It means Garage Door FC. Now that'd be kind of fun. I hadn't thought about the Garage Door FC side of it. Create save as US Men's National Team. I'm tempted, Nick. I want to see. That'll probably be how I test out international management when FM20 comes out. To see if anything's changed. Like it's obviously a neglected portion of the game in comparison to the rest. There's a lot of, I think, simple things they could do to make it more engaging, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they come out with FM20. That could be not the first thing I hop into, but I could hop into that a little bit earlier and do a run with the U.S. Men's National Team. That would be fun. See you, Nielsen. Have a good one. All right, so I mean, there's really not a whole lot to show you. As you can see, like if I go to the revenue, like a good chunk of the revenue was tied to the US videos, and then the rest is kind of a couple bucks a day type situation, which is again why, like, again, this is not, if you missed the first time I said this is not being like, oh, poor me, like I need more patrons, but like it shows the value of a patron in that. Okay, let's go to let's just call it June 16th again. Some of this was still U.S. Women's National Team, I think. No, maybe not. Maybe not. The top videos are not there. So in essentially a month and a half, it's rarely over $3 a day. So like if you're a patron at $1 a month, even though I get like 70 cents of that or 75 cents at a dollar or whatever it is, because of the transaction costs, like you're greatly helping. So again, like even if you're not that, again, I always hate talking. This is the part that makes me really uncomfortable. I think most creators are uncomfortable. Is like, but it does mean a absolute massive amount when you do that, because you're covering usually like half of a day's worth of ads if you're just at $1, which is insane when you think about it. All right, back to my list. Okay, that's the transition. So the whole reason, not the whole reason, a big reason that I spend so much time on YouTube and doing these videos, why I got into content creation, one was I thought, oh, I could do that. And two was like, okay, I'd like to generate some revenue for my family. And here's the situation for those of you that are not in the United States, or if you are and you're not aware. If you are a stay-at-home parent like my wife is, with our 2 amazing children, you have to have a certain number of work credits every 10 years to qualify for disability insurance. Now, I'm sure this sounds like we're trying to scam the system. That's not what I intend. But essentially, when you look at my life, I have a financial risk out there of I work, my wife doesn't. If she got in a car wreck and was like disabled all of a sudden and couldn't have disability insurance, not only like do costs go up because somebody has to care for her while I work, but like it's like a double whammy, because like she couldn't then go back to work. So that's why we have in the United States Social Security disability. And to make sure that you don't work and get benefits you don't deserve, right? Like you don't pay into the system, right? Because that, I'm sure people do that or try to do that. You have to have work credits, and a work credit is essentially $1,380, and you have to have 4 of them a year over 10 years to get to 40. Right? Once you've been working a while, you don't have to start out with that. If you're 22, it's different, right? Like, but once you're a certain age, it's like, okay, to qualify for disability insurance, you have to have generated $1,380 in, taxable income per quarter to get to 4 per year. To get to 4, so does it make sense? 1,380 for 1 quarter. You have to have 4 quarters for a whole year, and then do that for 10 years. And so you have the capability of like, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, right? Like you can have a gap, like you can take some time off to go have children. But once your old work, like in that 10-year window, right? Like once your old work credits start falling off, you have to like start adding new ones back in, or you no longer are qualified to get disability insurance. So all that to say, that's why I have ads and Patreon, because my wife and I have all of our YouTube, and we resell stuff, right? Like we'll buy stuff garage sales or at thrift stores and flip it on eBay or Amazon, stuff like that. We kind of did that for a good chunk of time, because you do it when you can, right? That's we don't have to go work 8 hours somewhere at somebody else's schedule. We got 2 kids, that's her, like she already has a full-time job, right? It's being a mom. So we're trying to generate our business income to where she gets 4 work credits a year off of that income. Okay, so let's just do the math here. If you got to have 1,380 for 1 credit, 4 credits is, just call it 5,520, but she gets 50% of our business income, because it's not like she doesn't do a lot from a video standpoint, but you guys have seen the back of her head in the American Rescue series. She was in that, like she did some voiceover work, and she's done more on the reselling side. But to get to so whatever our top line profit number has to be is double the 5,520 that she needs. Okay, so that means we need to make net, which means like after all expenses, $11,000 a year for her to get 4 work credits in a year. So this year is essentially the last year she can avoid getting 4 until it starts becoming a problem. Like, and becoming a problem meaning like she would qualify for disability insurance like for a long time. So like this year we're trying to get her at least 1 work credit. And then next year we have to figure out a way to really ramp up our, not just the revenue again, right? Revenue with lots of expenses doesn't help. It has to be that bottom line profit number. So that's why I do all this, right? Like I love playing Football Manager. Don't get me wrong. I love this community that we're building. Like this is cool. I really enjoy it. But the amount of time that I'm putting in, I would be much better off flipping burgers at McDonald's, right? Like I would. She chooses the 180 to 200 potential ability Wonder Kid in the series. That's some important job. That's right, Mateus. But like, that's why that is a focus of mine. And that's why I talk about it on the channel, because you are essentially helping us reach our goals. Okay. So I'm going to be open book here. This makes me really nervous, but I'm going to do it because I've always talked about analytics. I've always talked about Patreon stuff. And I'm going to talk about this because I think that's fair. So we are currently sitting at 48 patrons, $255 a month. If you do that math, 255 over 12 months is $3,060. And she gets half of that. That's $1,530. So that is essentially, if we maintain this for an entire year, that is 1 work credit for her. So we now have to find a way to quadruple this income. I'm not saying just through Patreon, right? Like that's not counting, analytics right now is about, or ads on YouTube are about $50 a month for us. So that helps, but like that's not quadrupling it, right? So how can I get from 250 up to 1,000? And that's what I need your help with as we continue this live stream. But that's where we're at right now. I do honestly, if I'm being honest, and maybe it's because I'm hard on myself and I'm an A-type and all that kind of stuff, I feel like, we got up to like 54, 55 at one point, and this was closer to like 290, $300. And I feel like we had some folks drop off because I stopped putting out experiment series because I got busy. And I don't blame them. It's just, it frustrates me that I'm like, oh. So like, this is the conundrum of the creator. Like, I could do, hey, let's put in a $5 tier, and let's do an entire series based off people who give $5 a month, right? And do a save where they're the players and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want it to come across as a money grab. It's like you want to get that authentic growth. You want to get to that point where, hey, if I put out a t-shirt or something like that, maybe that's worth it. So like, that's what we're trying to build, and I'm just trying to be patient with it because we haven't this year had to like panic and have her go get a job. But now I'm looking to next year and going like, okay, so how can we really grow this thing? So here's where we're at. This is the top. Is this coming through? Yeah. Yeah. Top line revenue. This is all the money we made or have made thus far as of August. It's not including, I guess, the folks that you just got charged with Patreon on August 1st. Okay, so this is through the first 7 months of the year. And this is how impactful you guys have been. That's crazy. That's that's huge. That is unbelievably huge. 58% of our total revenue has been folks, and really, if you add this in, because there were some people that, whether it was, that's not ads, or because I think your super chats or whatever you do when the random times I stream, that doesn't include that. But like, I have had some people say like, hey, I don't want to do Patreon. Can I just PayPal you some cash? Which is a very odd experience. But that's what happened. So what is that? 61.5% of revenue is coming directly from people like that watch, like, and support from a community standpoint. That's crazy. And then an additional 16% comes from those of you that are watching all of the ads, right? But that's right. Like think about how many ads there are in all of just this version of FM saves since, or all the episodes, all the videos I've put out since January 1st, because that's this year. That is not a whole lot, right? In comparison to people that are throwing some cash. That is crazy. So that means our, 22.5% of the remaining revenue is from us like flipping stuff. But then that stuff has got expenses. Whereas right now, if I don't buy a new camera or a new chair or something like that, then pretty much this income goes straight to the bottom line, which is what we're trying to do. Right? Because if I sell something on eBay, I got to pay shipping, right? And PayPal fees and all that kind of stuff. So that I just want to share that with you. I just need to figure out how do we get this section here or some other new thing, right? Up to that next year. That is my conundrum. Okay. And again, Dynamis, this is not me trying to shame people into like supporting me on Patreon. I just try and be an open book with this stuff. And if you see a shift in content or a shift in strategy or something like that, I want my community to understand, because I'd like this to be a thing that we keep doing, right? Like that's kind of the dream, like really grow this thing. I've thought, hey, if you stream on Twitch and you stream enough and you could get all the people who do Amazon Prime subscriptions and yeah, it's called subs, right? It's been a minute since I've been on Twitch, but that's just like that. Like this thing that I'm doing right now, I had to schedule in advance with my family. Like, okay, I need 2 hours of time. Can you give me 2 hours of time so that I can do this, right? So that's kind of where we're at with that. You don't want to push me away from other games that might bring in new viewers. Mark, that is a fantastic shift. Or you've what? Oh man, what is the phrase? You've put it on a silver platter for me. You put the golf ball on the tee, and I was coming up with the club to swing. Whatever that phrase is. Okay. Segway, Pekka. Yes. Hey man, you're in business mode. Okay, and then Old Lady Plays and Gordon Bell spelled it like how I'm presuming is correctly, versus like Segway. But I kind of like yours better, to be honest with you. So let's talk about that, right? So let's assume we could count on $300 a month in Patreon and Google AdSense, okay? And we're gonna do this is community math. Welcome to Gray Hair Gaming Streaming. We are doing community math, and this is our goal. Okay, this is net profit, not just top line revenue, net profit. So if I resell stuff, that it has to come out of that. Okay, so let's say that leaves the number that is going to be in the remainder of this column is what's left. So the easiest way to grow a business is to create something, sell that thing, and then have some sort of services aside from that like ongoing maintenance, right? So think about your classic, GHG software, and you buy it for $30, but there's a $5 a month fee or whatever, right? Like that. Think about all the different types of business models. That's one of them. Or you can just build something and it's just a monthly thing. That's kind of like Patreon, but that would be if I could create some sort of thing, whether it's an ebook or something else creative where someone would buy a product, that would help. Okay, Gordon Bell and Richie Kennedy asking about merch. So let me see if I can pull up separately my spreadsheet, because I will show you the merch situation. Please hold. Talk amongst yourselves. Here, I'll even do. That's a little quiet. Oh, that's not as quiet. Sorry if I just blew out your eardrums. While I calmly go look for what I've already done the math on. Talk amongst yourselves. Everyone relax. This is very soothing. Maybe this is my software. Is this free Irish music and me talking over it like some weird type of ASMR. Like, hello my friends. It's a beautiful day in Ireland. How are you doing? Oh, sometimes I think I'm insane. Oh, they're singing. Oh, I didn't know they were singing. I'm just looking. I did an entire spreadsheet on merch, and I'm trying to find it. I think I found it. I wonder what happens if I try and copy this in. Okay. Cut that out. Come on, music. That was epic, actually. All right. So this is using Teespring. Okay, so multiple situations. This is it's really great that you asked where people are from, because this kind of, Gecko is awesome. Where we pinpoint the problem with where I'm located and where my audience is located. So you run into the problem, like my dream, I would love, like one of my dreams as a content creator would be to come up with like a bundle, right? Like t-shirt, mug, scarf, stickers, a whole shenanigan, and bundle that together and like put it in like a nice box, and like be able to put a personalized note in there and do like all kinds of like awesome things with merch, and then ship it out to people myself, because that allows me to like give that personal touch where, yeah, it might be $50 or $75, and maybe for some people that prices them out, but like it would be like this thing where you're like, wow, like I didn't just get a thing in a bag that was shipped to me from some random company. Like it was a really high touch experience. That's the dream. The problem is people are from Brazil, Canada, Scotland, Germany, United States, Denmark, Lithuania, the UK, all that kind of stuff. And so shipping and customs becomes insanity, and it wipes out. Like I would have to charge so much money. Like even if you just did shirts, if I just did shirts here and printed up a supply of shirts and shipped them myself, I would have to charge probably the equal or more than the cost of the shirt to someone not in the United States to ship it to them. And that's crazy. So in comes Teespring, okay? And Teespring gives you the option. They have a European fulfillment center and a United States fulfillment center, which is what I need, because if you have a customer in Europe, it'll do the printing and stuff on demand from there and ship it to them, which is the dream, right? It just removes the high touch. And obviously they have to make a profit too. That's their business. I don't blame them for that. So with that, if you do standard pricing, like, I don't know, maybe it's just how old I am, where I'm like, I'm used to how much things, like my mind is anchored on a certain point of how much things cost. And I just think like $25 t-shirts is a lot, man. Like that is not cheap. So like 20 seems like a lot to me, but 20 is about the minimum you could do where it makes any kind of financial sense. And so it allows you to kind of convert it to either euros or UK. You can't set each price, but I did a little bit of math to show it was similar. So like if I price it at $20 US, I make about $6, okay, which is 30%. And that's, I mean, good, right? And like you as a viewer or a buyer would get something tangible out of it. And like here I am saying I think that's expensive, and I bought a $30, I think it was $30 t-shirt from Yes Theory, if you guys watch them on YouTube, because every time I watch one of their videos I smile. So like maybe I'm just being ridiculous, but it's just different when it's you. But it's like, so this is what it looks like, right? Like I sell one shirt, I make $6. So I'm giving away $14 at that point. So would that appeal to some people, right? Or is there a way to appeal to people where, they become a patron and give $10 a month or $1 a month for 10 months, right? Like that's more like if you pledge for $1 a month for 6 months, it's like buying a shirt, right? Like, does that make sense? Yeah, Lock Rum merch. And then I just looked at, because I don't want to just offer one, like I want to offer a variety in it. And mugs make no money. Mugs are like hilariously not profitable. Like I think an $11 mug is quite expensive. And even at $11 you make $3. So it's I don't know. So like could I do that? I thought about giving patrons discounts, just being transparent here. Obviously it's right there. And then I tried to do some math on like how much I thought I could sell. And it's a lot of effort, it feels like, for not a lot of juice. Now, what I've seen some creators do, not in the Football Manager community, but like they do seasons. So like, here's our new season of merch. But again, I think you have to have like millions of subscribers for that to make any kind of sense, versus like, dude, this is the one shirt I'm putting out, and we're gonna put it out for like a year. That type situation. Pekka, no, that is not including shipping. Because it essentially, if you buy like 2 items, right, it like they can bundle it. So this is essentially saying it charges you the shipping, right? Like that doesn't impact my bottom line. So it's not like I have to take the $6 and take shipping out of that. Hopefully that makes sense. So, you know, it's one of those things where I could do it now. Then okay, well then what do we put on the shirt? Because I'm not a designer, right? Like I could try and sketch something up, or something like that, but I am not a digital designer. And so this goes back to, I believe content creators, whether you're an artist or a dungeon master or whatever, you like, I don't like the whole, hey, come, you know, do this for exposure. Like I can't eat off exposure, bro. Right. So, I would want to, if I'm going to do that, right? Like I want to, out of this profit, I have to pay a designer, or I have to pay a designer a flat amount and hope I sell enough to get past that and then still make a profit, if that makes sense. So that's an option. I just don't want to put out what I want to avoid. It's evening, old man Sudor. What I don't want to do, I said I don't want to avoid. What I don't want to do is put out something cheap. And maybe that's just fickle of me. Maybe my, you know, the personality in Football Manager for me says fickle. But I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'm just going to crank out something cheap every month just to see if someone will buy a t-shirt. Right? Like that doesn't seem like a quality thing to do. I'd rather put out like a high quality design that's really interesting or really valid. And maybe I should validate with that with my audience. That's like, dude, we just want to buy a shirt. Like, I don't know. But this is kind of what it looks like. So, you know, if I can, yeah, because the profit isn't exact. It's not like if I add 20, if this is 25, it goes up to 11 because they have to take their cut. But that's kind of what it looks like. So could we do that in FM20? Maybe. You know, we got people saying like, hey, you know, do a garage door or create a club and sell the shirts for something like that. Potentially, but I want to do high quality stuff, and I want to avoid people thinking like, oh, you're just doing a money grab, right? Like I'd rather grow organically. I'd rather put out enough amazing content of some varieties that more people join as patrons. One, because that's generally more consistent, and two, I mean, for being honest, like there's no expenses with that besides my time, right? Versus if you buy a $20 shirt, instead of pledging for $2 a month for 10 months, I only get $6 of that, if that makes sense. So, you know, I may try that at some point. I may, yeah, I'm guessing if we put up merch, it'll be FM20. It's not gonna be FM19. But I can't design, so that's the next issue. Does that make sense? I'm gonna catch up on the comments because I've been rambling for like 15 minutes on that. Donovan says Frank the Tank. Yeah. The garage door. Eslabo, who has been awesome. He's been leaving comments. He's been catching up on the entire Aaron Gobra series. Focus on growing for now. Merch would need to be self-managed to be worth it. Also, you don't know if you can sell all of it. Buying stock is cheaper, right? Like buying, I'm assuming you mean like buying in bunches and then selling it. So Teespring, if I do merch, it's going to be through Teespring. And then the problem just at that point is I need someone that can do designs. And then how do I compensate that person for their amazing design? And maybe they go like, dude, I could smack something together in like 10 minutes and it will be fine. Then you're better than I am. And maybe it's not a big deal to you, but I always want to avoid the whole, hey, come do this for exposure. Alan, maybe do your logo in the Irish color or something. That's an idea. Put a middle tier into Patreon. Okay, let's talk about that. You mean like in between 10 and 1? Something like that. That one thing I have had some people ask me is they're like, oh, I didn't know I could do like $4 Like I thought it was 1 or 10 and that's it. But you can give anything in between, but obviously, you're not getting anything extra for benefit. So, if I had a middle tier, well, I guess what other content would you want to see? Old Man Sudor with Teespring, you can do it with one account. They've got a fulfillment center in either continent, so that's awesome. Okay, so you're saying like $5, but like what added benefit do you get at $5? Or there is a thing with Patreon where you can set goals. Like, would you guys see value in some sort of like things I've seen other people do is like some sort of a podcast or a Q&A, like a monthly Q&A, something like that. It's like, hey, if we can get to X amount per month, then we'll answer some community questions and stuff like that. I just don't know how much I can squeeze out of that, right? Mark, yeah, I need a brand and a logo, right? Like this is a free vector graphic of a soccer ball that I have put a layer of gray over and then used obviously the most basic font ever. And then I messed around with Photoshop to give the glass look. That's about the extent of my capabilities. Unreal, you can make custom levels for Unreal Tournament. Hey man, we'll put it on a t-shirt. So yeah, I'm gonna wait till you hear my voice saying like should we do something like goals or like tying into the goals, like if we get to a certain amount, then we'll do a monthly Q&A, and you have to be at the $5 a month or higher level to do that. Like, does that seem like a money grab? What would I want as my logo? I see, this is the problem, Mark. I don't know, right? Like, this is what I have. I'd like it to be somehow tied to Gray Hair Gaming and gaming, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a football, if you will, although that's what my channel is right now. I think the idea of the garage door would be funny, something like that. Hello, Dodgy, how you doing? Gave you your Patreon shout out earlier. You'll see that when you go back 6 hours on this stream. Podcast, show matches, or even merch might be. What do you mean show matches? Like me versus Loki Doki in a ring? Bing, bing, bing! And in this corner. That's Labo, I'm curious. And I'm not sure what I would do a podcast about. That's the other thing. Like, well, I gotta change this. We're over that. The other thing that I have gotten into, I mentioned this earlier, that I've gotten deep into has been Dungeons and Dragons, which is something I have never, ever in a million years, ever played, been a part of, or whatever until late last year. Got my D20 here. Yeah. So that is something where I see people create content that they can get supported on Patreon with, because like you're just using your imagination to come up with stories, encounters, stuff like that. I see people that, do online dungeon mastering. How I got into it is I started watching some some streams online, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, this is like really creative, and I feel like that's a good creative outlet. And I didn't know anybody locally that wanted to play, and it was easier to play online. So I volunteered like an idiot to DM a group, because there's always people like on Reddit. There's an entire subreddit called Looking for Game, like people who are looking for Dungeons and Dragons games. And like 98% of those posts are like, hey, we're looking for a DM. And I'm kind of the guy, I'm like, okay, that looks like a problem I could solve. I just got to learn how to do this. So I've been DMing a save that is Discord, like voice only, for like the last almost year now, pretty consistently on Friday nights. And I've got my first ever, I've never played, I've only DM'd, which is hilarious. It's not how you're supposed to do it, by the way. So I've got, I've set up a group in my own city, and we're starting like next Tuesday, actually. Not this coming Tuesday, the Tuesday after that. to play in person. So I'm looking forward to that. Kind of away when you're married with 2 kids, you don't get to meet a lot of people. It just is a fact of life. Like I'm going to soccer practice. I guess I can meet people there, but it's usually like get sweaty kid here, bring sweaty kid home, and then work, right? And so this is a way for me to kind of branch out and meet some other human beings. But like, would there be any interest in some sort of content like that? And if so, what? Let's take a look at the chat, because I wanted to get that out without looking, because I was just like, stream of consciousness. All right. Dodgy wants to see me and Loki in a show match. Excellent. Danny, don't do things like Nordic Journeyman, small stuff. Do big, says European Worldwide Journeyman, Fallen Giant, one of the big leagues, stuff like that. Yeah, and that kind of ties into what I was talking about, right? It's like the popular stuff, but I kind of like what I like, and that's a creative issue, right? Keep one series like the Irish, but lots of experiments. Could you do an online D&D through live chat? Okay, different strokes for different folks. Non-League to Legend style and those kind of saves. People watch that and we'll make your channel grow. Take some of it to Twitch and get subs and donations there as well. Just your ideas. No, like this is why we're doing this, Danny. Like you don't feel like you're overstepping your bounds. Yeah, people do like I've literally never managed, aside from a very small like 3 stream save with Whittam Town. I've never done anything in England, so that's an option. I will say, of the, I don't know if it's big 5 or 6 countries, my target for FM20 is in one of those saves, and it is a I don't know if you'd call him a fallen giant, but a very interesting story. So I find those interesting, and I can get, just like Cabo, not that they're fallen, like that's more of like a brand new thing, but that like it's a growth, not starting at the top, not starting with Bayern Munich, right? So that's kind of what I'm targeting to start FM20. Old Lay Plays, that's why you like what I do, because there's enough English series. Fair enough. Let's look here. People are like, it's really refreshing to have, like, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like in terms of having a smaller community that's like really passionate, is like, yeah, I could go do Liverpool. I could be Jurgen Klopp theoretically and probably get sacked, but like, yeah, like they're good, right? They got good players. Buy some better ones, like I don't know how much depth there is there, and everybody does that, so that's a popular thing to do already. I like to do something a little more unique. Okay, show matches might be playing other games for once, or playing specific scenarios, other options, highlight goals of the season, best save, stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. Mark, you like D&D, more exterior leagues are fun, lots of that, man. It's encouraging. Oh yeah, you have to go follow the same as everyone else in experiments, so I find them boring. We were talking about that, I think, before you were here, old man, about the experiments. Like, I could go drop £1 billion in Ireland and see what happens, but we kind of know what happens, right? Yeah, D&D does take a lot of time, Pekka. That is the only thing. So I think right now I wouldn't necessarily commit to that from like running a campaign is the word. Because one, I'd have to get buy-in from the folks that are in it, and 2, if I had folks that were in a campaign, I'd probably want to compensate them for it, right? Like if I took my Friday night people that we do on like the voice chat Discord only and put it out as a podcast, well, if I'm generating revenue off of that, I kind of feel like I would owe that to share it with them. Hold on, I'm still catching up. Give me a second here. Yeah, D&D could be a risk. I guess what I'm thinking from a D&D standpoint is like, what if I had a separate Patreon or something like that, and then like I could do more, I don't know, something where it's a sellable thing, right? Like, here's 50 encounters that, like people do that from time to time, but I wouldn't be known for it, because like it's better to have the audience already and be known for something in D&D, just like in Football Manager, so that when you put out something that you could buy, like that makes sense. Podcast might be about games, MLS, USL, actual game commentary. It's always good to have a second person by your side. You're pretty good at not being silent, so doing alone should work. Okay, so talking, when you say about games, you mean just like actual football matches, rather than Football Manager games, because I'm catching up here. I'm catching up. Could you do a community save, have your patrons be the executive making decisions on transfers, etc.? That's an idea. Okay. Gecko, I agree. I wish FM wasn't as niche as it is. Oh, you guys are great. So it's just like, how do I find more people like you? Like, bring a friend. We're gonna have a meeting next Sunday. Everyone bring a friend. Let's grow the community organically. Like, sit them down next to you and let's watch some videos together. So that D&D is a time suck. So I thought I might test the waters here in a little bit with. Again, I want to, if I put out content, I want it to be stuff that is either entertaining, like Football Manager, or it gets you thinking, right? It's not just reaction. So one of the most common things that I've seen is an issue in Dungeons and Dragons is it seems complicated. I don't know anybody who plays, therefore I can't get started. So like some sort of a guide around that. But there's also really good people out there like Matt Colville who, like, has developed a whole thing, and like they raised $2 million at Kickstarter or whatever it was, some insane amount of money, that does videos about that. So I'm not sure. It's like, if you go into a new thing, you want it to be impactful, right? Where like you're not just, it's not like what am I trying to say? It's like there's already ESPN with talking heads and Fox Sports with talking heads here in the US, right? Do I want to start up GHG Sports and be another talking head where it's just like, oh, he's saying all the same stuff as the other people, right? Versus it being something you're like, well, that's actually good, like I actually learned something today, or something like that. All right, Aloy Plays, if you make it back, we'll see you then. If not, if I've shut this down, we'll see. So I don't feel like we're going to solve this today. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think the easiest thing, from a continuity standpoint, and I learned that from a recent save and not being able to articulate or a recent episode not being able to articulate that word, would be, is there something else I can add, right? Like whether, let's call it the $5 tier or whatever, where it's some sort of podcast or some sort of Q&A where I can control how much content there is going to be, right? Like versus like YouTube, I like to put out like 5 or 6 videos a week. So I'm not looking to get that kind of a level of commitment on top of what I currently do. That doesn't, like, that's a bad use of my time, right? Or not necessarily a bad use of my time. It's just I don't have that much time. So could I do something where it's like in season, like there's a season of podcasts, or it's a monthly Q&A or something like that? But then, right? Okay, so if you're a $1 or $2 or $3 or $4 patron, is it worth the extra $1 to $4 to become a $5 patron for a monthly Q&A video? So like, I'd really want that one thing a month, or one, whatever it is, whatever the like schedule, one a month, one every 2 weeks, whatever, to be valuable, rather than like, yeah, I just, I take questions for 3 seconds and then say deuces, right? What is sorcery? I mean, I know, like, I'm guessing you mean a game. Let's look here. I'm gonna just type in sorcery game. Oh, it does literally have an exclamation. Okay. I'm afraid it's going to play loudly on your ears. So I'm going to... Oh, it's muted. Good job. An epic adventure in land of monsters, traps, and magic. Journey across the deadly Shamotanti Hills and through Kher, city port of thieves. Armed with your sword and over 50 spells with weird and wonderful effects, embark on a narrative adventure of 1,000 choices where everyone is remembered. Okay. Choose your own adventure book made into games. Is that a thing? Because, like, story saves, Knox County, English to drop. Okay. Story saves. Dodgy, yeah, that right. Regular releases, regular format, regular interactions. That yeah. I mean, there's obviously what was the NPR? Or wasn't NPR, but it was a podcast that NPR, like the lady was on NPR, like where they go back and figure out whether or not, like, what went wrong in this case and why is this guy still in jail? Should he still be in jail? That whole thing, where they did it in seasons. But like, I'm not capable right now of putting out, like, that's a lot of effort to put out 10 or 20 episodes, right? So I was thinking, that was just what I was thinking from like a season standpoint. Or we just have a $100 tier for Dynamis where it's ASMR GHG, like, hey you guys, we're playing some Football Manager, Lucas Clucas. I had some choose your own adventure books, so at least I think I got some at the library at one point. So that's kind of what is going on. The last thing, and I just realized I have to pick a team. I was gonna do, I am going to do an FPL league. The problem with FPL is that, and maybe that would be a content thing, but like, again, there are people that like Jamo that do that content significantly better than I do or could do, right? $3 tier where the shout out will be said in an ASMR voice. That'd be hilarious. Oh man. The problem with Fantasy Premier League is people tend to drop off, like, once like half the season or a third of the season gone by and they've like not scored as many points, that they forgot to change out their players or whatever. And so I wanted to do something where, like, I'm really, 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 really passionate about charity water. And so I asked them on Twitter if there's a way to donate in somebody's name anonymously. So, like, could I donate to the person who wins the month of September, or who's the leader at the month of September, or has the biggest increase in points in the month of September, and donate $5 to charity water, something like that. But if I'm gonna do that, it's like I kind of have to have some sort of revenue stream, because right now I can't really afford to just like chip in $5 a month without it coming from the community, right? So like, is it something where to join the Fantasy Premier League, you chip in $10 for the whole year or something, right? We just divide up the number of months that I could donate by the amount, right? Or maybe people don't care about that. So I'm gonna put together a team, and then it'll be in the Discord, which again, the link is not in this video's description, but it's on all the other ones. But that's just kind of what I've been kind of chewing on from an FPL standpoint. Is like, last year it got down to the last third of the season, and there was probably 10 people who were like really actively putting effort into it, because you're like, well, I'm 52nd or 38th or whatever, I'm not going to win the league, and just give in. So I don't have any other ideas about that, but I'm open to hearing from you on that as well. At X patrons, you can make one charity stream per month or per quarter. Oh, like a goal? Is that what you mean? Like, hey, once we get to whatever, if we can get to 60 patrons, I'll do something like that. And then it depends on like what would be in that stream, right? Like, wait, what am I going to stream during? Is it just me playing like sorcery or some other game, right? So, I don't know. That's kind of where I really need to. I mean, goodness me, I know how to do a green screen now. I have an actual camera. I should probably change this video. It's on the list. It's on the list. So it feels like what I'm hearing from you all is keep doing what you're doing. like the reason you watch my saves is because I get invested in the saves and you like them. There are some ideas about doing a save with patrons only, or create a club, something like that. So that's an option. But again, to do a create a club, I'd want to have a logo and do it right. So there's an option there to kind of not pivot, but kind of do an added thing there. There's the option of adding a completely different kind of content, whether that's RPGs or D&D or whatever. Like, I don't know if it would be interesting enough to talk about my experience as a brand new dungeon master and things that I've picked up along the way. Maybe it would be. That's kind of an idea rattling around in my head. Yes, Mark, I should probably hold on. I'll just find the link. There is a Discord. Copy. Okay, this invite link is only going to work for 1 day. Mark, I'm going to put it in the Discord there for you, sir. So if you're watching this after a day after it came out, that link won't work. But all the other videos in the description, there's a link to the Discord. So that's kind of where my head's been, right? Like, right now I'm leaning more towards doing a different kind of content, right? Because it's a gaming channel in general, right? Obviously I do Football Manager, but like D&D is gaming, and I know it's popular right now, right? Like D&D is kind of like a huge resurgence. You may not be personally interested in it, but is that a way to kind of grow a different kind of the community? My only issue with that is like, what, like, is that like oil and water, right? Like there's like a couple of people in the middle like that like both, but like, do I do it as a separate channel? But I don't want to do it as a separate channel because of how YouTube works. Oh, the end of the current experiment. Yeah, there you go. Thinking about things. But listen, I think the easiest amount of content I can put out right now is videos about my experience doing D&D dungeon mastering as a brand new person to the game. Because that's recent. It's based off my experience. I can come up with a script, record a video, put it out. But how do I extend beyond that? Oh, garage door reveal. Oh man, that's like 10,000 a month. Yeah, so according to Locato, you'll become a monster if you withhold content for patrons only. If you do, you'll unsub. Not say I won't donate, but that kind of channel I can't support. That's fair. Like that's what I like about Patreon, right? Like people have said like, hey, I'm gonna support you regardless, but you also have to go like, how many people are gonna do that, right? I'm gonna put the die down or I'm gonna lose them. So Synoptical, hello Zampa, we got people joining the Discord. Hey, howdy. My friends, look at this spreadsheet, y'all. Like, look at that thing of beauty. Look at it. This is insanity. So Synoptical, who's in the Discord, he's Andrew C in the save down here. Unfortunately, the guy with the shortest career. Put this together and tracked all of the attributes and relative things. Obviously, he didn't know the current ability and potential ability. I added that in. I also learned something in that the potential ability never changes. But like, I just think this is absolutely fascinating. Now, because of my recent business travels, have not had a chance to go in and update all of the current abilities. But I was just gonna, I guess, leave it and say like, what is there anything in particular you want to see? Because it's interesting to me, right? Like you see the jumps. Okay, you're looking at it in 240p. That's not the best. I guess the numbers are relatively small. Hold on, let me see if I can. I don't ever use Google Sheets, so I'm not sure how to make it bigger. Zoom, baby. Is that a little bit better? But I just thought it was interesting to look at Juan, right? Like value drops down, goes back up, really goes back up. 5 million. That's a huge jump at DC United. His wages goes from 30 to 7,000. And you start seeing, like, what I thought was interesting here is like the lack of increase between these two. And then his value peaked at what? I thought this was interesting. Like, goes to 29 million and then drops to 26.5 and then back, I think because of just the contract extension he got with the wage increase, to 29.5, and then it kind of tails off. But you can see, like, he never got to like a 20 in any of his stats, but like this is all automatically color coded by Synoptical, which is absolutely insane. He got to a 17 down here with, what is that? Agility. But you can just kind of take a look at that. Okay. Marcus Fromm wants to see his current ability and potential ability. Since you're here, Marcus. Well, I'll go through this and just show it so that if somebody comes by afterwards and wants to watch, they can like pause it on each player. But because you're here, your potential ability when we start out was 173, and I don't know the peak, but this is your peak. Well, this was your peak value, so it's somewhere around 167. So you get really close to your potential ability versus your current ability. And then it tailed off. Let's see. I see 18s here on anticipation. I think that's as high as it got. 18 down here at the end for composure. Took you a while to get composed. 19 on agility. Now we may have had a 20 and it drop off in the middle of the, the experiment, right? Between each year. And a 19, just like this. 19, then down to 18, back to 19. Kind of cool. So 78 million was the peak there. Jordan Bradford kind of peaked as a goalkeeper does later in life. His peak was 53 million. Hey, old lady plays, not pays. 160. He was at 165 grand for like ever. Like that's crazy. At that point, he had 17. So I don't think we had anybody get to a 20 on anything. Jonathan Needham. You can see his career here. Mexico, then England, then Italy. He kind of took a little bit of a tour. I guess 2 countries isn't a tour, but he played for 3 teams in Italy and 2 teams in England. That's a bit of a tour, if you ask me. His best attribute was an 18, and that was vision. Best player to never make it to World Cup. That's absolutely right. That was tragedy. For sure. As you can see, 164. That's pretty close, right? For Jonathan Needham, which I guess I didn't feel like his career was as good. I mean, he was valued pretty highly, but it just didn't seem, maybe it was because he bounced around as much. Like he didn't just like sit down in one club and just dominate. Mike Vitek got up to 162 and then tailed off from there. I kind of felt bad for Mike. But he had a 19 pretty early on with agility. I think that might... Yeah, that's crazy how long that lasted. Paul Colombani, who was our wonder kid. He was the one with the highest potential ability. And he... Again, there may have been some point in here that was higher than 161. But I don't think it was that much higher, just based off of the lack of the change in attributes, which I just don't understand. Like you would think, right? Paul Colombani gets to PSG. Now, this is where they loaned him out a bunch, and he kind of struggled to kind of like settle in. But you're thinking, okay, he's 26 years old. He moves to Atleti. They've got to have great facilities, right? Like you'd think he could grow more than 3 current ability points in that period of time. Now again, he may have peaked, right? Let's look actually. What is that? 2930? Hold on, I can't see what you guys are seeing right now. Okay, this is 3031. But let's just go take a look, shall we? Yeah, 161. So, hold on, I gotta bring the browser back up. This here was 161. So again, there's a chance it was 162 here or 162 here, but it wasn't like 175. You know, that's just crazy to me. Yeah, I think we had somebody guess Paul early on. I'm not sure who it was. Hetland here, unfortunately, like he got stuck in South America and nobody came in and bought him until it was pretty much too late. Which sounds harsh, right? He's at 32 grand, but like he was at, I feel like in his formative years, he was stuck at the wrong Liverpool for too long with poor facilities. And that's what kind of hampered his growth. His max was 161 anyway. I mean, he had some 17s here. Yeah, 19 here. Agility. All of our folks had really good agility, which is kind of interesting. But like when you look at the mentals, right, there's a lot of not green. Same thing here from a technical standpoint, right? You're getting a lot of meh type attributes. Why is it corners on here? And crossing. Maybe he just used the one that was across. Maybe the categories he set up was the ones that were across most of the positions. I'm not sure. Andrew, as we saw, never left Malaysia. I did think this is... Ooh, don't click that. I think this is 2 years as a free agent, and you still were able to come back. I mean, he dropped from a 96 to an 82, but like... That's kind of impressive, I guess. I don't know. But it was kind of sad, too, because he had a higher potential than some of the other guys. Just couldn't escape. Couldn't escape. Ozkatan. Yeah, he was the Stoke legend, right? So his peak value was in here. He was a pretty tasty looking player. 18s, 19 here on agility, but 143. That was another thing I didn't understand, right? Like I'm not, again, I've not played in England, but you'd think moving from Cabo to Bournemouth, yeah, poor Greg Baxter. You would think, I guess maybe because he got loaned out. Like they've got training facilities, so you would have thought he would have gotten closer to 182. That's so crazy, right? Like 182, and he never got higher than I think 143. Again, there might be like a 146 in here, and then it tailed off, but I don't think so, honestly. Yeah, press F to respect Greg for the first experiment series where, what was it, FC Ukraine United or something up in Toronto, Greg? Was that what it was? You know what that is? That's shame on Toronto's MLS club. Which I guess is Toronto FC. Marcus Fromm we already looked at, but I mean, that's just, look at the green. Look at the green. I mean, you couldn't jump to save your life, but that's just delicious in there. You once refereed a game with Ukraine FC at attorney. That is awesome. Hooray, real life. I thought this was interesting from Danny. He got 6 points away from his max potential. That's pretty good if you ask me. I don't know if he improved any here after Club Bruges. But that's quite impressive. And that was the last one. So that's kind of how we end up, my friends. I think coming back to this, where we're at is most people don't want paywalled content. You were putting in decent performances. You were like that half a season, Greg. You were, the 18 games a season you got to play, you were dominating. Unfortunately, but what I'm taking away from this conversation is most people don't like paywalled content. Most of the people that are in this, which again was max like 29, 30 people, but I appreciate, like, that's probably the, most of the ultras, right? You guys are the ultras. They like that I don't do the standard stuff, which means it may not grow as much. It seems like experiments is a way to grow and that people don't mind them, right? Like as long as they're interesting. That's kind of how my take is on it. I think I just need to dedicate some more time to doing that. So we'll get that kicked back off in August with the managers in different countries series and see how that goes. And then that'll kind of segue us, there's that word again, into FM20, where we can kick the kids experiment off again. And I think with that, I may try and do at least 2 episodes when we get into FM20 of that every week, so that we can get through that experiment and go to the next one, or maybe run multiples at the same time. It sounds like you guys are open to other types of content, whether that's Q&As or I don't know, charity streams or RPG games or something like that. I just kind of need to figure that out. Old Lady Plays, you like the U.S. men's national team or women's national team pieces, do more of those. Yeah, that does bring in more viewers. Sure, that's a good idea. What else? That's kind of my take. I'm checking my notes here, make sure we've covered everything I want to talk about. I will get the Fantasy Premier League set up and get the link in the Discord for you. And then I'll add it to the, once I pick my team, whatever, tonight or tomorrow, I'll add it into the descriptions of the videos. And maybe, in the next week of videos, I'll pin a comment at the top. It's like, join the FPL League, something like that. Again, it sounds, going back to the content, it sounds like Q&As, RPGs, DD and content you guys would be okay with, as long as it wasn't paywalled, something like that. And it sounds like people are open to merch. I just have to figure out how to design it. So if you're a designer and you want to talk about that, easiest way to contact me is on Twitter, or honestly Discord. Join the Discord, send me a private message so we can talk, because I don't know anything about design. ASAFD JDFJHF, an experiment where you flip top division with bottom division across Europe. Yeah, but I feel like that's been done, right? I feel like people do that. I could do that, but is it unique? So like, what I want to do is like really unique experiments. That's why I hadn't seen, I could be wrong, so I'm not trying to insult somebody who's already done the 8 or 11 kids or whatever in 5 different continents, but I hadn't seen that, and that's what I thought personally was interesting. So I want to do more stuff like that I find personally interesting. But again, hopefully kicking off FM20 in one of the big 5 or 6 countries with a team that needs to redeem itself. That's kind of what I'm thinking for FM20. I'm going to put together a trailer so that you guys can see that, and gals, and we will take it from there, my friends. Oh, you mean across Europe? And I had, okay, hold on, I'm looking at Discord because I pinned some stuff to try and remember it. Maybe I didn't pin it. Upcoming series, maybe. Somebody had some ideas about what was it? Hold on. Well, I don't see it right now. Like, it was like dual nationals. So like, what happens if you take all the players with dual nationals that are currently on national teams and flip them to the other one, right? So take Fabian Johnson, that I think it was Fabian, that switched from Germany to the United States, and make him German, and like do that across, I don't know, I guess all the countries. I don't know how to do that. Like maybe the top 50 countries. That would probably take forever too. So I don't think that's something I could pull off between now and FM20 coming out. So probably an FM20 thing. So doing something like that. Hey Craig, how you doing? You got a lot to catch up on, brother. It's almost the end of the stream, unfortunately. But I would like your thoughts on some of the stuff. Anders, you say garbage talent in big clubs will they have a career to do good training? So like, what would we give them good potential, but like really, 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 really bad current ability, like to start out? Is that what you mean? It's always weird when you're talking with somebody through the channel, because You have to wait to hear my voice. Okay. All right, so I'll take some notes here. So we got flipping dual nationals back. Does anybody have a handy list of people who have flipped or a way to find it? That would be useful. Horrific current ability in big clubs. Okay, with high potential. So essentially, can you use that? Yeah, reverse kids in random. So it's not random countries, right? It's big clubs that everybody knows, but it's instead of them having high current ability to get started or something like that, or decent current ability, you give them really bad ones and see if the training facilities can rescue them. I like it. I like that. I like the flipping dual nationals back. I like the bad kids and good clubs essentially. Eslabo, what about doing a video about how one could evaluate his own stats as a manager for a personalized journeyman? What do you mean there? Okay, I hear you, Dodgy. So mixing up two players with the exact same current and potential ability, but one on a small team, one on a big team, see who develops better. How small though, right? Like, are you talking like Liverpool and prepare to insult anybody, Brighton, or like Liverpool and Whittam Town? Eslabo, do you mean like in real life? Like how good is my tactical knowledge in real life? Or how high is my motivation skills in real life to set it up realistically? Premier League and League Two. So still in the football league, not going, you know, down to the Vanarama South. Okay, and then old lady expanding upon that, right? Do it with 2 teams in 5 countries, so you kind of get a little bit of both. Put the champions of the Welsh, Irish, Northern Irish, and Scottish top divisions into the Premier League and see in which division they stay put. That's a lot of editing. I'd have to figure out the editor, because then like what happens to the 1, 2, 3, 4 other clubs? Do you put them in? You just switch them? Like, do you put like who gets kicked out? Right? Like, do you kick this past season Fulham, Huddersfield, and is it Brighton out? Right? And put them in the Welsh and Irish and Scottish leagues, something like that. Kick out the bottom 4, so replace them with those. But like, you'd think they would just drop down, right? Cardiff, that's right. How could I forget? I got to get back into it. My son and I, this is the 2nd year in a row, so we're calling it a tradition. We're going out to breakfast. I'm taking all of Friday off, going out to breakfast, and then sitting down to watch Liverpool take on Norwich to kick off the season. So I did that last season. I think it was Leicester and somebody was the first game of the Premier League season, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Ooh, namesake clubs. Okay. I didn't know there was enough of those, Dodgy. That's kind of interesting, because that there's a real tie there, right? Like, we've Liverpool FC and Uruguay is, I mean, it's the same name. So like, how many of those are there? I guess is my question. Okay, I'm gonna need a list of those in Discord because I'm probably gonna lose the chat, I think. Everton. Okay, Liverpool, Everton. Okay, this is news to me. FC Barcelona, that would be hilarious. I remember I was talking about that in the Discord. Okay, how... Okay, all right. That's I like that. I like that. So we got flipping dual nationals back, putting really bad current ability players into big clubs with high potential and seeing what happens. Putting same current ability potential, but one player in a small team, one in a big team. Do that across a couple countries. And then switching the namesake clubs. Now, do you just outright switch them, like wage, budget, money, and all that kind of stuff? You just like go into the editor and say, you know, is now in this league instead of that other league. Zebu, give every big league in the world the same rules as MLS. I don't think MLS works right now correctly in Football Manager. I don't even know if it would be possible to execute the exact same rule set across all of them. Well, that sounds terrible. That would probably break I'd like my Football Manager, I think. And here we are in the English League 2 draft. Or, you know, I guess that, no, because it'd be one giant thing. That'd be weird. We're here for the Premier League draft. Yeah, that's, I thought it was you, Marcus, about the switching to their second nationality. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I'm just thinking here, the whole thing where like you create a club with the patrons in it is, if that's not the main save, well then how often do you put out a video and what period of time gets covered in the video? Right? If you only put out one episode a week, that takes a long time to get through an entire season, right? Arsenal suffered in Argentina because they couldn't register enough homegrown national players. That's funny. That would be interesting. It'd be helpful if there was like a handy list somewhere, you know, with all the things. But all that to say, I mean, we've been going here now 2 hours with a break to fix the stream. I still am stunned like that 27 people show up to just chat. It's just really cool to see. And I really appreciate all the support. Do something all the Red Bull teams or a league with all the Atleticos in the world. I gotta learn the editor more, I think, before I get too deep into that. Putting the City teams and the Red Bull teams into a league. That'd be kind of funny. Like a 10-team league. Surely City owns like 7 teams by now, right? Something like that. And I'm just I'm gonna say this one last time because I'm afraid of how I come across sometimes. Is like, I hope you guys all know I'm very thankful, right? This is not me complaining. Like, it still blows my mind that that's even a thing, like, at all. I'm trying to think about this as a business and going like, okay, so what else can I do to drive business? So, guy in the SI forums only signed players named Diego. Diego FC. And Diego, passes to Diego. Oh, and it's saved by Diego. Oh, that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Well, you have given me a lot to think on. You've given me some really good ideas here. I think I've got a good list of potential experiments to get going in FM20. It's always good to have the list before you get there. Again, I think at this point, from an experiment standpoint, I do the managerial one like I promised the folks on Patreon I would, and then by that point, by the time that runs its course, assuming it doesn't break like on the second episode, then it makes sense to wait until the next Football Manager to come out. Again, depending on how long some of these other things would take, and really kind of hit it hard at the beginning of FM20. And then, you know, I'll start thinking about other types of content. If the only thing you worry about as a content creator is like, if I put something out about whatever, it doesn't even matter. D&D, the sorcery game that Pekka talked about, or anything else. If like 3% of the audience watches that, and that's it, like, does YouTube look at that favorably, right? Like, or do you look at it like, hey, I'm going to dedicate myself to doing this, and it's just it's a tidbit of extra content, and using that to grow, like, long term? Like, does it help you grow long term, but without diminishing growing the Football Manager side currently, right? Something like that. Reward people for great comments by renaming people in the game. Gives another way to engage. Sure, that's easy, right? Like I can do that, right? I can click nickname and boom, off you go. So that's something I can consider moving forward too. I was excited about the San Francisco save, right? I've still got the scarf and the shirt down there, and bringing in like 2 patrons from every youth intake. So like, hopefully you got a good one, right? So doing something like that, I do plan to do that in the next save. It's just what I've discovered, and this is just my life and how much time I have, is I can't run an experiment series, a long-term save, and another save at the same time. I just can't. My brain, I just can't get my head around, okay, what tactic were we using over here in this thing that I only put out twice a week or once a week or something like that. So I think I gotta have a save, and I can do experiments on top of that. But in that save, I could rename folks for sure. And like, yeah, Gecko, like you're saying, I could rename the staff to being people from the community. Yep. Cool. All right, my friends. I appreciate it. I really do. This is like, I just look at it like, when we got 22 right now, we had 27, 28 earlier. It's like, I imagine it's like weird. It'd be like if we were at a restaurant and I was up on like a slightly elevated platform with a computer and being like, so what do you guys think? And like, we just sit here and talk, and like, here's my presentation on what's going on in my business that you are participating in. And this is like our quarterly meeting. Thanks for coming. You know, like, it's so freaking weird to me still, but like, I'm in a good way. And I don't know, it just blows me away. It literally just blows me away. So that's a good idea. I'm actually going to note that down about the renaming youth and staff. I hadn't thought about staff, so when I sign like a new scout or something in the next save, you know, generally they stick around for a little bit. We'll take it from there. It's like building the team from the base. It's a correlation. Yep, exactly, Donimus. I appreciate it. So again, I will one last time here. Let's see. There's the Discord. I just put it in the chat. Feel free to join and come say howdy. There's a lot of people talking about their saves in the general chat. I am gonna, at some point, again, it's on the list, kind of change up the channels inside of Discord, because we have like a subscriber goals, and you know, like the last thing about the goals was like, I don't know, a long time ago, 3,000 subscribers. So we've surpassed that. Thank you for being one of many 5,000 subscribers. For those of you that watch all the ads, thank you. For those of you that are patrons, thank you, or have been in the past, thank you. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Thanks for commenting. It's pretty freaking crazy. It's pretty crazy. I look forward to showing your ideas off on the channel. So have a great rest of your weekend. And yeah, we will see you around. Have a good one.